Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. You are in the gap with Hussain. This is the platform where we bring to you the extraordinary stories of ordinary people, particularly immigrants who have come to Australia and are making a life for themselves in their careers or in businesses. Through this platform, we aim to share their strife, their trials and tribulations, their successes, their failures, and the lessons that they have learned along the way. In today's podcast, I have somebody who I started off as a colleague with, but I'm happy to share that over time we have turned into really good friends. So I welcome to the podcast Ahmed Khaleel, AK-47.
Thanks for the introduction.
How are you doing?
Good, man. How are you? Thanks
Thank
for
you.
inviting me to this podcast.
Thank you so much for coming and taking the time out to
I'm
be
glad
with
to
us.
be here. I'm glad to be here.
So just to give all of you guys an introduction to what Ahmed does is, Ahmed is a graduate in civil engineering from the Western Sydney University. He is currently working for Seymour Whyte, who are one of the largest civil construction companies within Australia. He has about 2.5 years of experience as a civil engineer, and we'll get into his professional experience as well as his own personal experiences throughout his life. So before we do that, I would request all of you guys that if you guys find these conversations interesting and engaging, kindly take a second out of your time to hit that subscribe button. Also try and leave a comment and give us some feedback on how you find these conversations. If there is anything that you would like us to change up, if there are any other topics or any other kind of guests that you would want on this podcast, do let us know. Right. So just to kick off, Ahmed. I think for everyone, the first thing that we want to find out is just give us a brief rundown of what your early life is like. Where were you born? What was your early life like?
Well, I was born in Baghdad city, Iraq.
Wow, Baghdad,
Baghdad,
right in the middle.
Right in the middle of born in 1996.
Yes.
I lived in Iraq till 2004, 2005.
Right.
So I lived 2 years within the war, so I'm a war
okay.
survivor.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you came to Australia, you're saying in 2004, 2005.
Yeah.
So even though you were very young, you are still an immigrant. Even though you've spent majority of your life within Australia, but essentially you still are an immigrant who moved to Australia.
Yeah,
Interesting. That's a very interesting point, because normally the kind of immigrants that I talk to or who I have experience with are people who have just only recently come to Australia and who have spent majority of their adult lives in some other country. So for you to come to Australia at the very start and then live through the Australian education system, or experience life, early life in Australia as an immigrant, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
So okay, coming back to Iraq, tell us a little bit. Do you have any recollection of what Iraq or Baghdad was like?
Yeah, of course, 100% I do. I loved it. You know what? If I could take the time back, I would still love to live there. Oh yeah, 100%.
Paint me a picture. What is Baghdad like?
Just
early 2000s.
Just lovely people. People nowadays, they changed after all these wars and stuff. But everyone was nice, smiling. You could walk in the streets at 2-3 a.m. in Baghdad, and people are still out shopping.
Interesting.
The shops are open. Everyone's like with their families, with their kids, having fun. Now you can't do that.
Beautiful.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
So, how old were you when the war started? The war started in 2002.
2003. 2003. So I'm born in 1996. So I was
6 years old.
6 years old.
6 years old.
Yeah.
Do you have any recollection of things like things before the war and then after the war, things changing?
Yeah. So when before the war everything was fine, but when the war started to happen, me and my siblings and my mum, we had to go to in my grandma's house, which is north of Iraq.
Yeah.
Which was considered the safe
area.
Yeah, because it's like north of Iraq, close to the Turkey borders and all that stuff. In a city called Kirkuk.
Kirkuk,
yeah. And I remember the first day in the war, I was sleeping. It was probably around 3 a.m. in the morning, and we could hear the F-16
just
American just on top of the house, and the house is shaking.
Really?
And I remember saying to my mom, "Hide me under the blanket. I'm scared. I don't wanna die." And a couple of hours later, my uncle from I can remember this like it's a movie right in front of me.
Yeah.
My uncle called my mum, which he called my grandma's house number.
Yep.
And he told her from Baghdad, because they lived, so that's my dad's side, they live in Baghdad. My mum's side, they live in Kirkuk, which is north of Iraq. He called her and he said, the American tanks are in Baghdad. So
Wow.
they're here.
Wow.
The war is...
The war is full on.
It's full on. It's over. The Americans are here.
Interesting.
And that's when everyone was shocked. Like,
And
yeah.
okay, so give me a little insight of what your family was like. What do your parents do? What did they used to do back in Iraq?
My mom, she was just a housewife, just
Yeah.
looked after us. My dad, he was an airplane engineer.
Okay.
Yeah, an airplane. He studied his masters in Yugoslavia.
Okay.
Yeah, because he done really good at like HSC, what we call it.
Yeah.
So he got like a scholarship to go there and study airplane engineering.
Interesting.
And yeah, so when he came back, he got a really high,
A high paying job.
not a high paid job in the army, a very high,
high rank.
a high rank.
Oh, he used to work for the army, did he?
He was an engineer, like he got nothing to do with weapons or anything, but
Yeah.
the system back in Iraq, because Iraq was like throughout the 90s all the way, like even the 80s, it was just war after war after
Yeah,
war.
yeah.
So everything was focused on army. And,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So when all the so my dad was one of the like top in his class in Yugoslavia. So as soon as he came back, as a reward for his hard work overseas, they gave him a really high rank, like in just like admin stuff and
Yes.
and things like that. So and my dad back there, he was still at work, so he wasn't with us. So he was in Baghdad.
Okay.
Yeah, and we were like worried about him. Like, what is he doing? We had zero contact with him. We don't know what he was doing. And
So when the war actually started, your dad must have been like not at the forefront, but he must have been really involved, and he must have really known what was going on.
he was, yeah.
On-
Like
on-
after everything like was over and he came back,
Yeah.
thankfully, and rejoined us. Like he was front line almost.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Like he told us a story which is very interesting. I find he was like, his boss technically told him to like go home. The war is over. We don't need anyone. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah. So my dad, he's like, no, but I still want to come. Like I want to be there to the last minute. So and he was on like how back in the days the army they go like a week. Like in the army, then they have like a couple of days to go see their family. So my dad went to my grandma's house in Baghdad,
Yep.
and he called like his boss saying, all right, like I'm coming back here, and he's like, no, the war is over, like don't worry about it, like stay with your family. And my dad, he refused to stay, so he actually got on a motorbike and went back to where his friends are and stuff. And he said, I was on a motorbike and I was going in the street, and like 2-3 kilometers, I could see the American tanks, and he was like, just done a U-turn and went back. It's like, yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
So it was full on.
So for your dad to have been in the army, naturally, I mean, look, in countries in the Middle East, and like even from my experience in Pakistan, countries that have had seen wars in the recent past, there is a huge sense of national pride, and there's a huge sense of patriotism within the
100%.
people. So what I'm getting at as your dad, when he eventually made the decision to move himself and his family to Australia outside of it, that must have been a very difficult decision for him.
100%.
Because obviously he would have loved his country. He would have wanted to serve his country as long as he could.
Till this day, like my dad says, he's hoping in one day Iraq goes back to normal. He would be more than happy to actually
What's Iraq
go
like
back.
now?
It took a 360 degree.
Yeah.
People's hearts have changed. People now like hate each other. Like the war, the American divided like the people, like Sunnis, Shias, like killing each other, civil wars. So just people are changed, not safe, and also like if you look at politics and stuff now, like the neighboring countries kind of are highly involved in the politics in Iraq, like Iran and whatnot.
Yeah.
So it's not really.
And also
the country is divided pretty much.
And also, of course, because Iraq shares the border with Syria, the fallout from the Syrian war
affects
and ISIS would have some of it would have affected at least some part of Iraq as well.
Yeah, so like the war started in 2003, and till this day, like the American partially left Iraq, but the war never stopped. You know what I mean? Like
That's what sorry, that's what these interventionists, I believe, they don't get it right, which is in general, I believe, what America doesn't get right about, these military interventions all across the world. Is I can say that's from my own experience in Pakistan as well, because we've also had partial interference from the American military.
Yeah.
They don't realize that they might come and go, they might leave, they
But
might
they leave a
conduct
huge effect.
yeah, and but the after effects of what they've done, it is felt for decades.
Correct.
After that,
I agree.
and if you push a country into a warlike situation economically and socially, it takes them decades to come back to the normal.
Yeah. If they come back.
If they ever come
If
back.
they ever
and,
come
and,
back, yeah.
and during that time, there are generations of young people growing up with that mentality.
Yeah.
And what ends up happening is that those children who are growing up, like if you had stayed in Iraq and if you had grown up in that situation, you would have naturally grown up imagining America as the enemy.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
that they are the reason for the disruption. Anyways, not to get too political on the podcast,
Yeah.
but okay. So when did your dad actually decide to come to Australia? And how did you decide on Australia?
Okay, so let's go back in 2004, 2005, which is the year that we left Iraq.
Yeah.
Obviously, like mum and dad's house was also in Kirkuk,
Yeah.
which is north of Iraq. Our house was in the same street as the Prime Minister of Iraq.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like 3-4 houses down, like big houses, like our house in Kirkuk at like 3 levels.
Wow.
Yeah, never seen a house in Australia like that.
Like that,
Only in Bondi and these stuff. Like,
Yeah.
it was a very, very wealthy street. So the American came and took over that house,
The Prime Minister's
house.
Wow.
And they know the people that live in that house. They all kind of like they involved somehow.
Yes.
In Iraq's politics,
And governance. Yeah.
and governance. Yeah. So they started like targeting our house because our house was a very high like house and it was on the edge of the street. So they want to kind of make it like a second base.
Yeah.
So one day my dad, like that's another interesting story. One day my dad was like cooking pizza in the oven, and my mum was like, "Oh, there's a red dot. There's a red paint on your back." And my dad is like, "Oh, what is it?" And he moved, and the laser went on the oven, and we looked back, and just a soldier just put his laser on my dad's back. Wasn't intent to shoot him or anything, but just
Intimidation.
trying to annoy him, like.
Wow.
And it kept happening. Like we sleeping at night, 2 a.m. in the morning, and the Americans would walk past, and just like knock on the door. We freak out. We come back, and they're like, "Hello, how are you? Bye." Just to annoy you, just like that. You know, them little things.
Yeah.
Started to build up.
Yeah.
So we decided to leave Kirkuk and go to Baghdad, which is my grandma's house.
Yeah.
And then one of my dad's friends in Baghdad said that this is very high profile information, but your name is on the list of the people that needs to be.
Your dad was told this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Your name is in the list of the people that needs to be cleared.
Okay.
Okay. So when my dad heard the story, within a week, we organized everything and we had to leave. My dad wasn't scared or anything, but he said, if anything could happen to me,
Yeah,
who's
of
going to
course.
look after you guys?
Yeah, of course you do. That's what you
Yeah.
think about. You think about your family,
Exactly.
your children.
So that was the first thing, and we had to leave. Yeah, we left and we went to Jordan.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
You went to Jordan first.
Yeah, we went to Jordan.
Okay. What happened there?
No, just went to Jordan. Like we literally had to leave and go to Jordan with nothing. Like my dad, like they didn't even have money. It's not like we were poor in Iraq, but he didn't have the time to
Gather anything?
gather anything because it was such a rush.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and so we lived there. It was okay. Like I kind of miss Jordan. Like I love the country.
Yeah.
Love the people. Love the food, and they love the Iraqi people. To be honest.
How long were you in Jordan for?
3 to 4 years.
3 to 4 years.
Yeah.
Right. So that is where you would have a lot of your childhood memories, because then you would have been between 6 to 10 years old.
Yeah. So I went to school
So
there.
you went to school and
I started even picking up the Jordanian accent
Yeah,
and
right.
speaking Arabic.
Right.
There's a difference between like the Iraqi accent and
Yeah,
and
of
the
course.
Jordanian accent.
Of course.
Yeah, so I started picking that up, and yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And when did you guys eventually move to Australia then?
Yeah, so we Yeah, so 2004. I think we got to Australia 2006.
Okay.
2007. Yeah.
2007.
Yeah.
Okay. And did you guys arrive at Sydney at the
Yeah,
start?
straight city. Yeah.
And you've been in Sydney ever since.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Interesting. So, I, I'm just thinking. I would actually love to have your dad on the
Yeah,
podcast.
I know, hey.
No,
Next
for sure.
episode,
Let's
next
let's try to do that. Let's try
Yeah.
to get your dad on. This like this is a story that I would love to cover.
Yeah. Oh, he would have
he's-
so much stories.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For
You
sure.
need at least 3 hours
Yeah.
podcast with him.
Yeah. Okay.
Be very interesting.
So, okay, just to now your experience. Okay, now obviously your dad moved, your family moved, and everything. I want to see this experience through your eyes as a 10-year-old coming to Australia. What were your perceptions like as soon as you came here? What were the initial years like? What was early school life like?
It was kind of tough because I had zero English, couldn't speak the language. I know zero of the Australian culture, Australian history. I don't know the people. You know, I left all my family back, so it was very intimidating.
Yeah.
But then your family was always having your back and supporting you, and like you can do it, and you can make it. And I wanted to, because I know what my family went through
Yes.
through Iraq and through Jordan. So I was like, I kind of understood as a young child, like, okay, I'm in a developed country. I have the opportunity to make something of myself.
Yeah.
And I want, my parents went through like hell and back
Yes.
100 times. So I want to make them proud.
Yep.
So I started working on myself. I learned the language very quick. I started doing good at school, got a good HSC, and I went to uni, and here I am.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, in terms of the culture shock of coming over here, were there a lot of which area, which school did you go to?
I went. I don't want to mention the school.
Yeah, okay.
But it was a school like within the Western Sydney.
Western Sydney,
Yeah, which was just like it's a school that mainly have the immigrants there, teaching them like
English. Okay.
like the people that comes from
Yeah.
like countries that don't speak English, like
Yeah.
English is their second language.
Yep.
Yeah. So, which I love that school. I miss that school.
Okay.
Yeah. That's also the thing that helped me with the shock is when I came to Australia, and thankfully Australia offers that kind of
Integration.
integration. And
Yeah.
so when I went to that school, I saw people from Iraq, from Pakistan, from Asia, like all different
countries.
So that made me feel comfortable, like I'm not the only one
Yes.
that going through this.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And that just gave me a lot of confidence
Yeah.
that I can do this. If they can do it, I can do it too.
Right.
Yeah.
So moving forward into your teenage, right? There would have eventually come a point where the old influence of Iraq and Jordan would have started going down, and the influence of the Australian culture and
100%.
Australian way of life would have formed the person that you are, right?
100%.
So what I want to understand is, as an immigrant, as an Arab immigrant, teenager,
Yes.
teenager, brash personality,
Yeah.
raging hormones,
Yeah.
and as a guy,
Yeah.
what was it like growing up in your teenage in Sydney? What was Sydney like? What was the teenage culture like?
To be honest, I loved being a teenager in Sydney. Like, I can't imagine myself spending teenage years in any other city.
Yeah.
Even back in my home country.
Home
Iraq.
country, okay.
Yeah.
You love Sydney?
I love Sydney. Like, I went traveling to Europe and stuff, and
Yeah.
I went back and I was like, you know what? I feel comfortable in Sydney.
Yeah.
I love Sydney. I have a lot of friends.
Yeah.
I have now I have like 3-4 family that lives here. So yeah, I love my teenage years. Like,
Sydney is home.
yeah, Sydney's home, mate.
Sydney-
Western Sydney's home.
Sydney is home now.
Yeah, 100%.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's nice. What about your parents? Like, do you feel that they have? I mean, obviously, look, as a grown person who's gone through war and immigration and leaving their home behind, there is a certain kind of trauma that doesn't go away,
Yeah,
right? But
yeah.
do you think your family and your parents are?
Yeah, they've overcome.
They've overcome
They
that.
overcome this trauma, but the only thing about them is that makes them feel comfortable and give them the support every day to wake up and do things is seeing their kids doing well.
Doing well, yeah.
They're safe. They're going to school. They have decent jobs.
Yep.
That's the only thing that's like make them like move on from.
Yeah.
But on the other side, the only thing that's tough on them every day is family.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like we live in Australia, it's 20 hours flight to go back to Iraq or any other
for sure.
the other side of the world.
Yeah.
And it's tough. Yeah, that's probably the main thing.
Do you go back?
I have never went back to Iraq.
You've never gone back, but your parents have.
No.
Your parents have.
No.
Okay.
No.
Wow.
Never. Yeah.
That's. It's tough, man.
Yeah.
Like
that's
leaving
what I'm saying.
leaving family behind,
Yeah.
leaving loved ones behind, and moving across the world.
Yeah,
It's
it is
tough.
tough. Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The main thing is family. Like don't get me wrong, we've met with like a few family members here and there. Like we went to Malaysia, they came to Malaysia.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Turkey and stuff. And they go to Turkey and we but we're still like my mum hasn't seen her mum, which is my grandma, probably 10, 12 years now.
And your grandmom is still. She's still alive.
Yeah, she's still alive.
Wow.
Yeah. She's 92. Knock on wood. But yeah.
I can't imagine. Man.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's really tough.
It's really tough. But yeah, again, their kids are doing good here and that's our life is established here.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
yeah.
How many siblings do you have?
I have one older sister and one older brother.
One. Oh, so you're the youngest.
I'm the youngest, mate.
You're the youngest.
Yeah, I'm the
Nice
youngest.
one. Nice
Yeah.
one. Nice one. So how about your siblings? Are they doing well for
Yeah,
themselves
they
as
are.
well?
They are doing. They graduated from uni. They have decent jobs. So yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I like that fact that, and I found that with a lot of parents, especially who come from educated backgrounds, who are themselves highly qualified, they come and they push their children to go down the same path and get professional jobs and professional degrees, which actually, like you said, coming into Australia, that gives you that platform to actually achieve more than your parents ever could within their
exactly
life.
right,
And I believe that any immigrant who's coming out here and they're trying to make a better life for themselves or for their family, for their children, it becomes incumbent upon their children to then give back.
100%.
And the only way that you can give back is your parents don't really want any material thing back from
No.
you, any money or anything in return from you. They don't even ask you to finance them in any way.
No.
But all they want to see is for you to succeed
Yeah.
in a professional realm.
Yeah, yeah. They wanna have that confidence that when they're gone, you're set.
You're
like,
set.
You're
Exactly.
like you have a degree in
Yeah.
like in your hand. You have a not even like let's not say you have to go to uni to impress your family and your parents. Like
Yeah.
as long as you even go to TAFE, get a like a trade.
Yeah, whatever you do.
Yeah, whatever you do, like
Yeah.
just make them proud in something that you're doing good. Like,
Exactly.
Yeah.
No matter what you do,
No matter what you do.
whether it's a degree, whether it's a business, whether
Yeah.
it's anything, whether it's a trade
Yeah.
course, or even if it's like you're doing art or anything, right?
yeah.
But what they want you to do is not just be lazy and just
Yeah.
just get by. They want you to actually thrive
Yeah.
and succeed in whatever you do.
Yeah, exactly.
And that is for parents who actually leave everything behind. I mean, I don't know how many people can relate to this, but it's one of the most difficult things to do
100%.
when you're a grown man.
Yeah.
You know, you have an entire life that you uproot and you take your family elsewhere.
Yeah.
Like I can't even imagine what it must be like.
Yeah, 100%. Like that's like a message to all the immigrants as well that's watching this podcast. Like if you would come to Australia with your parents and you know that your parents left everything behind, and for you here to say, "Oh, now I'm in Sydney, I don't need to worry about
Yes.
anything," and just not even study, not even get a proper job. I'm not saying that, like if you have a job, but a job that can last and you can have
Yeah.
a future with it.
Yeah.
Like you shouldn't be doing that. Like you need to make them proud, and not because you're here or now I'm set, I need to
Yeah.
kick back and not do anything. That's the worst thing you could probably do to your parents is
Yeah.
leaving everything behind, and now you're here and they see you not doing anything
Yeah.
within your life.
Yeah.
You know?
You make it worth it for them.
For them, exactly.
Make it worth it for them. Make
Otherwise,
them,
you're gonna make it difficult for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, like oh, we left all this, and now look at our son or our daughter.
Okay. I want to shift the conversation to okay, now when you're growing up in your teenage, in your late teenage, in your early 20s, right? Do you feel that the lot of people that you hang out with,
Yeah.
were they predominantly Arab, or was it more multicultural within your group of friends, or was it mostly Arab? Because it's natural, because when
Yeah.
because of the sense of community, this is
Yeah.
something that a lot of people wouldn't understand, is that people who come from specifically Arab countries, people who come from South Asian countries, the sense of community and the sense of family and reaching out to people who share your cultural background,
Yeah.
it's very important.
Yeah.
It's very important.
Correct. Yeah, so don't get me wrong, like throughout the high school phase and even university,
Yeah.
I had different friends from different part of the world, different
Yeah.
cultures.
Yeah.
But then when you leave high school and when you leave university and you start your professional life, that's when you start seeing, I would say, your real friends are.
Yep.
And surprisingly, the real friends that you have is the people that come from the same culture
Yes.
and the same country. Like the people that are like frequently ask about you and they want to see how you're doing. They want to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
there's a lot more overlap there.
Yeah, 100%. Don't get me wrong. Like I still have like a Greek friend and an Italian friend that like I always like in contact with. But if you look at the bigger group of
Yeah.
my friends, which are I consider them like Arabs, Iraqis.
Yeah. Interesting. So, yeah. So the reason why I asked that was, now I'm going to ask you a very tricky question.
Okay.
But this is something that I wanted to ask, and being somebody who's from South Asia, I did not feel myself to be the right person or to have the right context to draw a conclusion on this part. So I'm going to ask this question to you, right?
Okay, let's see if I can answer it.
Yeah. When I came to Australia, right, I've been in Sydney for 5 years now, and Sydney, in all of the Australian cities, has the highest proportion of Arab people living in Australia.
Yes.
The highest proportion of Arab people living here. Now, what I've seen is, unfortunately, when you talk about Arab people in Sydney or in Australia, there is a negative stereotype that is associated with the Arab people, right? Like generally, when you talk to people about, and I mean this with the utmost respect and sensitivity.
Yeah.
I don't mean to bash anyone,
Yeah.
but I'm just somebody who's trying to understand why that is. So normally, when you hear about Arab people in Sydney, people talk about the culture of drugs, weapons, corruption, and all of that stuff. So, I mean, look, one is a stereotype that is unnecessarily bigoted within the mind frame of people, right?
Correct.
But what are your thoughts on it? Being somebody who has seen that community from a very close space, why do you think that is? Where does that perception come from?
It is a tricky question, but you stated a fact saying that Arabs are like one of the big. What was your fact? The biggest group
Like Sydney has one of the largest Arab communities in Australia.
in Australia, correct?
Australia,
but overall, it's also the minority.
Yeah.
So there's probably around 500 or 500,000.
Yep.
Or let's say a million, like Arab background people in Sydney compared to let's say 4 million Italians or 2 million Greeks. So we still, at the end of the day, we are a minority.
Minority. Yeah.
So let's say if a small group of that minority do something, let's say bad, for example, drugs, you are going to get targeted, and the media, sadly nowadays, they generalize.
They generalize.
They
everybody.
generalize. So when they generalize that very minority group of people, the way the media like show it to the people is that the Arab people that's living in Sydney doing that. So I think that's where it comes from. Even though there's a lot of Arabs in Sydney, but when a minority and also I would say the media plays a big part of this.
Yeah, of course.
And people can comment on this video and they say if they agree or disagree with me. But this is personally what I think. Yeah. So
What you're saying is that there would be incidences here and there, but there are
Correct.
instances like that within any culture,
Within any culture.
within any background, within any demographic.
Yeah.
But it's just that once a media finds somebody to target, they zero in on it,
Yeah.
and then that creates a larger perception that maybe the entire community is like that. Add on to
Yeah.
that fact that the past 20 years, Muslims and Arabs in general all across the world have been, tainted in that same way.
Well, since we're talking on the subject,
Yeah.
any Muslim person from any background, if we would do anything, the media would target it and put it on the TV
Yes.
and just show the wrong image, whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, it's sadly that's reality, but people need to sit down with us and talk to us.
Yeah.
And that's when you can like find the way we think, and not all of us. It's a very minority people that
are
do the wrong things and give us the bad image. But most of us are educated. We come from like good education.
Yeah. And on that topic, my own look, I never really had any personal interaction with Arab culture or Arab people until I came to Australia, right?
Yeah.
But obviously there's the overlap of being Muslim, right?
Yeah.
So the Muslim culture is an overlap. But once I came here, I have also seen that all of that perception and those stereotypes withstanding whatever the media says, what I've also seen is that Arabs are also one of the most vibrant communities
100%.
within Australia, and within the fabric of the Australian multicultural society. That is a very important element that the Arab culture plays, and it's something that you cannot downplay.
100%.
Right? They bring their own flavor to what being an Australian means.
100%.
In this day and age.
The Arab culture and the Arab people, like I could say proudly that they give life to Sydney.
Yes.
Like if you, for example, let's wake up tomorrow and we remove all the Arab restaurants and shops from Sydney. Man, it's going to be boring.
It's going to be dull. I mean, imagine not having Lakimba nights during
people are going to Lakimba nights more than to the Easter show.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? And the Easter show considered one of the biggest events in Sydney, probably in Australia.
I think one of the funniest and most appropriate takes on people's negative attitudes towards immigrants is I saw the stand-up from Trevor Noah. He said that you don't like immigrants, you don't get to have their food.
That's it.
That's it. If you don't like immigrants, you don't get to have their food anymore.
And you know what? Like going back to the question about Arab people and giving the wrong image and we bad people, we like all this bombarding this information in the media that we're not the nicest people. Like during Ramadan, if you go to Lakimba nights, you see people from everywhere. Everywhere.
Exactly.
From Europe, Asian people, Indian people, Muslim, non-Muslim.
Yeah.
They're just happily walking next to each other, enjoying different food, different cultures. And I love it.
And those are the things that we actually need to focus on more than the
negative stuff.
More than the negative stuff. Exactly.
Yeah.
Interesting. Nice. So thanks for that. I really wanted to get somebody who's from within the community, their perception of it, right? Also, just to add my final point to that is that when I said that Arab people add a very important flavor to the Australian community, I also mean that in terms of the family values and the sense of community that the Arab people bring to the Australian community. Because within the Arab culture, the sense of family, the sense of responsibility towards one's family and one's not just one's immediate family, but also the extended family and the community as a whole, the sense of responsibility of being a representative of the community and doing well for the nation, for people in general, that is something that is really built into our psychology at a very early age within our homes.
100%.
And I think that for any Australian is very important, because that is then what makes us a nation. We
learn from the Australian culture, and the Australians learn a lot of things from us. Now I can like some of my Australian friends, now they started fighting on paying the bill. Back in the days, they split the bill. You know what I mean? And now they're learning from us. When we fight, almost punch on who's going to pay. So see, this is the good values that they learn. You know what I mean? When like even if you go out with your Australian friend, if someone is fighting with you to pay your bill, that means you're family to them.
And
not even family. Even if you're with your friends who who's an Indian or Asian or Italian, or
yeah.
if sometimes when I go with my mates,
Yeah.
like I like to shout them,
Yes.
and that means I care about you.
Exactly. And that's part of the culture. That's like the sense of hospitality and
Yeah.
generosity
Yeah.
is very huge.
Yeah, 100%.
Within that
Yeah.
culture.
And it's also the Australians, they're learning that from us. Like now they know
Yeah.
when you go out with your friends, you don't have to pay for yourself. Like
But you know what my personal experience is? The Aussie culture in itself,
Yeah.
it's much better than what
100%.
you find in maybe America or maybe in Europe. Like Aussie, the Australian culture, and I'm not just talking about Aussies or Arabs or anybody who's living in Australia. The general sense of the community, the sense of togetherness within Australia,
Yeah.
I really admire that.
honestly, I believe that Australia is the best country in the world.
Yeah.
With the best nation.
And if we continue to develop this way, because the way the country is developing, you're gonna have more immigrants and more people coming in
Yeah.
in the coming decades, more than before, because that is how we want to develop this country, right? And the only way to do that in a positive way is for us to embrace the differences
100%.
and embrace each other's cultures and celebrate our differences. And that is the only way we can turn this country to even a much greater nation
Yeah.
than what it might be right now.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Right. I'm going to shift the conversation to now the engineering side of it.
Let's
Okay.
go.
Okay. So I understand the way that you came into engineering is, what I'm understanding is that your dad was an engineer, so naturally he would have wanted like all Arab and all South Asian parents. They
Doctor,
wanted-
lawyer, or engineer.
Doctor, lawyer, engineer. Those are your three choices.
But
right?
don't get fooled by this fact. There's many other
Yeah.
trades that you could be very successful and gain very good money.
Yeah, I'm just talking about the parents.
Yeah, just the parents.
Just the parents.
Yeah.
Okay. So your dad being an engineer, he would have obviously loved you to be an engineer, right?
Yeah.
So is that how you ended up being an engineer then?
Yeah, I would say so, but also, to be honest, I didn't know. Like after year 12, I didn't know what to do.
Okay.
Like I got a good ATAR. I had like few opportunities to like apply for different courses, but just something about engineering. Like I'm gonna be like I could actually have a very high chance of being accepted to study engineering degree.
Yeah.
So I just applied for it. You know what I mean? And I got accepted and.
Yeah. Was science and mathematics something that you were always interested in?
Not really, but I guess I was good at maths.
You were good at
somehow.
maths.
Yeah, I was good at maths, and studied. Don't get me wrong; it's a very tough course.
Yeah.
It's a very tough course if you don't focus and study. But then it's highly worth it after you graduate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
100%.
So you studied civil engineering.
Yes.
And you went to which uni?
Western Sydney University.
Western Sydney University. And it was a 4-year course?
It was a 4-year
It
course.
was a 4-year course.
Yeah. But I extended it to 5 years and a half only because I was working through it.
Okay.
So I did some semesters I did like part time. I used to pick up 1 or 2 subjects a semester.
Yep.
Just so I can work and make money.
Make money on the side.
Yeah.
No, that's good. I respect that. And that is very important for somebody to be in their early 20s. They're doing a full-time degree, and also on top of that, they're also trying to make money for themselves on the side. I highly respect that.
I did everything in the first years.
And you know what? I think because I know you personally, so I know that during that time you were working in construction. So I believe that is also very important. Like if you're studying civil engineering, but you're also working out on the field in some capacity, it really gives you a completely different perception of the stuff that you're studying. Because whatever you study in your uni, in your degree, it's not really giving you a taste of what the real world application is like.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
And-
you have to actually be on the field and to learn.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Until you actually experience what it feels like to work on a
100%.
project, you wouldn't understand what you're studying.
100%. And engineering is a very broad course. Like, so when you're on the field, you can actually know what you want to specialize in.
Yes.
You want to be building high rises, or you want to be out there building roads and stuff. Two different like parts of the degree.
Yeah.
So you have to be on the field to see what you like and what you dislike.
Because studying something in theory is completely different from actually experiencing it.
100%.
You don't really know if you're actually going to enjoy doing that work.
Exactly.
In the real
Exactly. So
world.
you have to be on the field
Yep.
just to know if you're gonna enjoy. You know what? And maybe it's my biggest advice for like people who study engineering, especially in the first couple years. to get a job, even an unpaid job, just to be at that experience. Because probably at the end of the day, you're gonna be like, engineering is not for me. You know what? Maybe I should just leave that course and do something else.
Do something else.
You really have to like what you do to continue doing engineering. Otherwise, engineering is not for everyone.
It's not for everyone, and it's once you get onto the job, it's very mentally taxing as well.
100%. You're doing long hours, so you really have to enjoy and love what you do.
Love what you do.
To continue to
Interesting.
Yeah.
When did you graduate?
2015.
2015 you graduated, and you've been working in the construction industry ever since.
I would say from my third year of uni, third year of uni. At the start, I did my first year of uni. I did traffic controlling because I used to study in the morning and work at night. Night shifts. I was making money, and so again,
good money, mate.
Good money, and studying in the morning. So that was my life. Just going to uni, to my lectures, my tutorials in the morning. Then at night, pick up a shift. Yeah. So that was good. Then in my second year, I started doing concreting, just a labourer.
Nice.
Yeah. And some people are going to be like, oh, why are you doing labourer? You're doing engineering. You should get like a cadetship. But you have to be, like, you learn a lot from the guys on the ground. You know what I mean?
You know, on that point, I would want to add something. And this is something that I learned. And I admit my own ignorance at this point, that when I came to Australia, my life in Pakistan was, you could say, very, very much sheltered in that sense. Go to uni, do your degree, try to find a job and all that. So it's just that the work culture within Pakistan, it doesn't really encourage or provide access to young people to actually enter the workforce without a degree. There's very less opportunity there.
That's right.
But coming here and seeing how things actually work over here with young people, they have the opportunity to start earning as soon as you turn 15, 16.
100%.
They have like so many avenues to build a career without a degree or without formal education, as long as you're willing to work hard. And as long as you're willing to sincerely put an effort to learn something, you can make anything of yourself.
Mate, I started working when I was 14. I was getting $12 an hour. And I was loving it.
And that's now, if any young person from Pakistan who's coming over, if they ever ask me, what should we do or what kind of skills we should have that will help us establish ourselves, I say, mate, try to get on the tools. Try to work with your hands. Don't forget about the perception that only a 4-year degree or a formal degree will get you a high paying or a hi-fi job in Australia. That will help. That will eventually help you. But if you want to get here and if you want to start earning immediately, jump on the tools. Get a trade. Get a learn a skill basically.
100%.
Learn a skill, and that can help you. There are so many avenues here that can help you make really good money while you're studying, rather than just coming up here and just, for example, doing food deliveries or running errands like that. So much better.
That's what I'm saying. We live in the best country in the world, like Australia. There's a huge opportunity.
That's it.
You could literally come to Australia and have a zero skill, and you could still get a job and earn good money.
Yes.
Like you could be doing Uber Eats.
Yes.
Just driving, and you could still make decent money.
You can still make decent money.
100%.
Yeah, for sure. Although, as somebody who's done Uber Eats himself, I would say that, okay, if you want to make your ends meet, doing Uber Eats is good. But I would still always prefer somebody to do some kind of like a trade course or a certification before reverting to Uber Eats, I'd say.
100%. I'm saying like on the side. Like,
on the side.
Like you have to do these type of jobs on the side. You have to have a main focus. That you have to have like a side hustle to do things like that.
And like you said, Australia is a country of massive opportunity, and that opportunity, at least for the next 50 years, it's not going away. There is massive opportunity within Australia to work in business, to work in construction, to work in specialized trades, to work in IT. There is massive opportunity.
At the end of the day, it's a developing country. So, as you said, for the next 50 years, 100 years maybe, it's still going to be available for everyone.
Exactly. And the only criteria is you need to be willing to work hard.
You got to have the right mindset.
Hustle.
That's it. You gotta want it. You want to thrive.
Exactly.
And if you have that, that's all you need. The mindset, and you're done.
You're done.
You're sweet. You're set.
Tell me about Seymour. What's it like working at Seymour Whyte?
Honestly, I'm loving it. It's been 6 months. I'm loving it. Love my team. I love the culture. I love the policies. Everyone is supportive. Culture-wise, if you're going to go about culture-wise, I'm Iraqi. My engineer, my senior engineer is Australian. My project engineer is from New Zealand. His parents are from Cambodia.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So my undergrad is from Afghanistan.
Yeah.
So
It's
just full of culture.
full of culture. Yeah.
Yeah. Just we have culture day. Everyone brings like food from. So it's just really good. Yeah.
Interesting. What kind of projects are you working on at the moment?
So we upgrading a road. Yeah. So pretty much it's a road upgrade project for transport for New South Wales.
Transport for New South
Yeah.
Wales. Right.
It's a government job. Yeah.
Government job. And like what's the scale of a job like that in terms of like budget?
So we are upgrading a road that is 1.3
Okay.
long, and we spending 260 million.
260 million for a 1.3 million.
Yeah.
Is that the Roselle interchange that you're working on?
No, it's the Mulgoa Road upgrade.
The Mulgoa Road up?
Yeah, Penrith.
Penrith.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's a very short. So if you look at the budget-wise 260 million, you could literally build a road, a highway that is probably 10k, 12k, but because it's a very tight road with a lot of stuff underground, utilities underground, it's very, yeah.
So any specialized elements in there? Like, are you guys are you guys increasing the lanes in there?
Yeah,
or-
so instead of 2 lane each way, we're gonna make it 3 lanes.
Okay, so you're
Right.
including extra lane
Yeah,
on either side.
and 4 ramps as well.
And okay, and you're doing the ramps as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
Okay, interesting, interesting. And the ramps are gonna be
Widening the ramps.
Okay, interesting. And those are earth-filled ramps, or are they like piered
No,
piered ramps?
earth-filled.
Earth-filled
Yeah,
ramps.
yeah.
Okay, interesting. I'm only asking that out of my own interest
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I want to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Nice. So before we wrap this up, Ahmed, if any young person out there is listening to you at the moment, they want to get into construction, they want to get into engineering. Let's say somebody who's just in high school at the moment. What would you suggest? Like out of your experience, looking back, do you think that there's something you would have done differently that would have given you more benefit?
Yeah, I would take your degree very seriously. Don't just turn up to the lectures just to sign up your name and go home and work. Now focus on your degree and try and to get into the field as soon as possible, as soon as like first year. Just get a cadetship, even if you unpaid. I did three months of unpaid cadetship. After that, I got into a paid role straight away,
Yep.
which was a very high reputation, high rise construction company. So it opens a lot of doors, but you need to get in early. Yeah.
And on that point, I would like to add, there's a lot of there's a perception out there within young people that unless you have experience and if you get like internships and everything, it's always going to be unpaid and you're going to be struggling and all that. That might be true in some industries, and that might be largely true within America.
Yeah.
But if you're working in Australia, chances are more often than not that even if you're starting out at the very basic level, you will get some kind of return off of that.
100%.
There might be a few unpaid opportunities out there, but the majority of them do give you some kind of return. And it's all about building your experience. Once you have even 3 to 4 months of experience, you can actually cash that in for a paid role.
100%.
Very easy.
Nothing gonna go to waste.
Yes, nothing's going to go to waste.
Even if you're gonna do an unpaid like job for a few months, that's gonna be added to your resume. So you're adding to your experience.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, the government will be paying you.
Yep.
So you're not losing anything. But again, I'm gonna repeat what I said earlier. You need to have the right mindset. You need to struggle. You need to struggle in order to be comfortable later on.
Yeah.
And that's what you should be doing.
100%.
Don't be lazy. First year of uni, get your phone, start calling people. Are you interested in a cadet, in an undergrad? Start early.
Interesting. Interesting. This has been an amazing experience, mate.
Yeah.
I mean, I've known you for 3 years now.
Yeah.
But to hear the story of how you guys came over here and everything. I feel like this has really been eye-opening for me as well.
Yeah.
I really loved the story.
Yeah, man.
No, really nice insight. So
I'll tell you more stories offline, so alright.
yeah, we'll do that. After the cameras turned off. Okay, so just to wrap this up, final point.
Yeah.
Ahmed, you're 26 years old.
Yeah. 27.
27 years old. 27 years young.
Yeah.
Okay.
Still young.
What is the one nugget of truth, one nugget of advice that life has taught you that you want to leave the listeners with?
That's a really good one. That's a deep one.
It can be anything. One nugget of truth
One nugget of truth
that you can offer the people.
to people. Just listen to your parents. Listen to your parents' advice and always have them by your side, and their support would eventually make you successful, because at the end of the day, your parents want the best for you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
And on that point, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. If you enjoyed it, kindly hit the subscribe button, hit the like, leave a comment, give us some feedback on what you think we can improve. If there are any other questions that you think we should ask from future guests, do leave them in the comments below. If anybody wants to get in touch with Ahmed or myself, I'll be leaving our LinkedIn addresses in either, they should be on the screen right now, or I'll put them in the description for this video as well. If anybody wants to reach out to Ahmed or myself for some kind of professional advice, we'll try to help you guys out the best that we can. That is it for this episode of In the Gap. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.